Hello everyone, this is Dan Gramza, and welcome to Gramza Market Studies for Thursday, October 22nd, and greetings from Toronto. Well, in the stock indices, we were looking for possibility of unchanged to higher. We have to be very cautious about the selling that we saw yesterday. Well, NASDAQ, it did make new highs on selling. No real strong follow through. Today, it implies unchanged to lower, just like it did with yesterday's action. We are looking for weakness in that market, but I think we need to be very cautious to be on the short side of these indices. But if they want to go down, you and I'd want to be a seller. I just think that we need to keep it in context. In other words, take a look at these currencies. Stronger currencies across the board. If you look at all these green candles, which means the US dollar is weaker, the yesterday's action implied to rest, implied to pause, that we were looking for the possibility of a weakness in these currencies, and it was just the opposite. We saw the US dollar getting weaker and these currencies getting stronger, and Japanese yen going sideways. The real key follow through for today. We're not looking for gigantic moves, but we are looking for a move to the upside. But again, I think in these currencies, we also need to be cautious about the setups that we're seeing here. In other words, go with the flow, but I think we needed to keep it in context. And if we look at the interest rates, the short end of the curve continues to struggle basically in the sideways market. We did find sellers in the notes and also in the bonds. I think we talked about it in the advanced session, but the advanced video. But there are references here that you and I should be aware of, that today was kind of a critical day, and it failed to meet those references. So what are we looking for? We're looking for unchanged to lower in the interest rates. And Friday, I think, is going to be the determining factor from a longer term perspective of those markets. Well, and the metals. We're looking for follow through to the downside in gold. But as we talked about, we need to be cautious of these things. I just don't think they're layup type trades. In other words, where we found sellers, well, we found them again. Gold did break to the downside. The issue is it found buyers at these lower prices, just like silver did. We are looking for unchanged to higher. I think we need to be very cautious about metals. Expect more of a sideways type market, except for our friend, the copper. Mr. Copper had a nice move yesterday, took out that shadow high, the appropriate type of move in terms of structure, looking for a kind of a quiet range today, not a large move in copper. Long-term biases to the upside in that market. When it comes to the energy market and crude oil, we are looking for a softness in that market to go unchanged to lower. Instead, we did go lower, but then we found those buyers, and we're closing above $80 a barrel. Wow, that's a big deal. I just think we're getting near thin atmosphere at these levels. So wouldn't be surprised to see this market slow down a bit. Not looking for a big move today. And that's actually the issue when it comes to natural gas. We have gotten high enough to find sellers here. We were looking for unchanged to higher. Now here's where it opened, and when it traded here, if it finished like that, that would be textbook. That would be the right kind of behavior. Instead, we found sellers. We are looking for weakness, but I'd be cautious about being too aggressive on the weak side when it comes to natural gas. And in the grains, well, these are weather markets right now, and we're seeing the results of that. These big moves that we're seeing here. The big deal, though, is today's action. We do not want to see a market coming back off any of these grains, coming back through these shadows that you see right here. Not a good sign for continuation. It would tell us a lot about Friday. Well, this concludes today's market studies. I do hope you found a few ideas helpful, and I'm looking forward to be with you again tomorrow. And in the meantime, take care.